Good evening, everyone. Warm welcome to your own platform. We call it as MindnorM. My name is Madhav. I welcome you all in the next session of Finance Norm. Last session was conducted in a recorded format, and the video is available in the video section where we have completed the report which we started a previous session ago. So I hope right now I'm audible, visible, everything is fine. I welcome you all in Finance Norm session, which is a finance current affairs session, which is live on Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday at 5 p.m. Today we will be discussing the news, the most important news from 26th to 27th of May. And remember, these last 15 days of May and the first 7 days of June are going to be really very important if you are going to appear for the RBI Grade B Phase 1 examination. If you're wondering why, the reason is very obvious. The reason is very obvious because if we are expecting the questions are going to be framed or the questions are going to be finalized, so there is a great probability that the latest questions can also be asked. So before I start with the discussion, just let me know, are we good to go? Just let me know, are we good to go? Okay. Before we start, one more request, guys. If you haven't subscribed our channel yet, I would request you to quickly subscribe. If you haven't shared the link of this session with your friends, I would request you to quickly copy the link of this session, share it with your friends, so that everybody is aware that yes, today the session is live. It was not conducted live last time, but on the same time, the video was premiered on the same channel. Okay, ji? Now, let's begin the discussion. Today I have three important updates for you, and all the three are from RBI only. And all these three updates, they have a great probability, they have a great capacity that they can be easily asked, in the upcoming Phase 1 examination. So, I'm not saying that I'm ignoring the Phase 2 relevant news, but I would say that I am focusing on Phase 1 news as well these days, so that if any news comes up from the latest part, we are able to answer it from the class itself rather than going through with the courses PDF or rather than going through with the weekly or monthly compilations. And trust me, these three news, they have direct capacity that they can be asked. First of all, today the first news belongs to a very important topic, or I would say a very important segment or a very important type of bank. And today we are talking about which type of banks, and I'm talking about cooperative banks. So the first point I have for you all is, what are cooperative banks? We all know that. So these are the banks which are operating. These are the banks which are operating under the Cooperative Act as well as Banking Regulation Act. And in case of cooperative banks, we are also aware that these banks, they are further divided into two categories. The first category, we call them as urban cooperative bank, and second we call them as rural area banks, where we include the state cooperative banks. We have the central cooperative banks, or we call them as district cooperative banks or district central cooperative bank, as well as rural cooperative bank. So today the directions have been announced for rural cooperative bank as well as this category, for rural cooperative bank as well as urban cooperative bank. Now the question is, so these directions are basically related to what? So these directions are basically related to the directors of cooperative banks. These directions are basically related to the directors of cooperative banks. So if a person is serving as a director of cooperative bank, earlier the maximum tenure which was allowed by RBI for an individual to serve as a director of a cooperative bank was 8 years, and later on this tenure was increased to 10 years. Later on this tenure was increased to 10 years. Now the question over here is, sir, after 10 years, do these directors, they are allowed to be reappointed? I would say earlier yes, they were allowed to be reappointed, but now RBI has come up with a statement where RBI is not saying no, you cannot be reappointed. You can be reappointed, but after a cooling period. And what is this cooling off period? So cooling off period का मतलब है कि भैया थोड़े समय के लिए इस directorship से बाहर जाओ, do something else in your life, and then you can come back again. And this cooling off period has been fixed to 3 years. मतलब every director is need to step down from the position after 10 years, and after 10 years of tenure they have to take a break of 3 years, and this break of 3 years is mandatory, which is called as cooling off period, and after that you can be reappointed. There is no issue in that. But the question over here is, so what can be done during these 3 years? So during these 3 years, the directors, they have been, I would say, given certain directions, or I would say they have been given certain time, or certain areas where they can involve themselves, where they can surely involve themselves, but they are not allowed to be the part of. They are not allowed to be the part of cooperative banks where they have already completed the long 10 years. ठीक है जी, क्लियर है ये बात, समझ आ गई? If this point is clear, just give me yes sir. अब यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन ये आता है कि सर, is it allowed that the director can be appointed as a director of some other bank if eligible? RBI saying yes, we have no issue with that, but you will remain as a common man, you will remain as a normal member or a customer for the cooperative bank. You cannot become the director, you cannot be the part of decision making authority, policy making authority once you have completed your 10 years. ठीक है जी, बस इतना ही. No, this we haven't done in the previous year. What we have done in the previous year was in January इसके ऊपर एक ड्राफ्ट आया था, तो उस ड्राफ्ट के बारे में मैंने आपको बताया था और इस पार्ट को मैंने काफी डिटेल में आपके साथ डिस्कस किया था. सो यू मस्ट बी रिमेंबरिंग दिस पार्ट. कूलिंग ऑफ पीरियड पे ड्राफ्ट में एक सजेशन था, वी हैव डिस्कस दैट सजेशन, बट आज हम इसको और ज्यादा डिटेल में देखने वाले हैं. सो प्लीज बी विद मी टिल द एंड ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर वीडियो. ठीक है, चलो लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड, लेट्स डिस्कस दिस न्यूज इन डिटेल. So what is the news all about? So it is the RBI has issued the final amendment. RBI has issued the final amendment directions. RBI has issued the final amendment directions, and these amendment directions have been introduced for urban cooperative banks as well as rural cooperative banks. Though these amendments, RBI has introduced a mandatory, the word is mandatory cooling off period for directors of cooperative banks after they complete a continuous tenure of 10 years. After they complete a continuous tenure of 10 years. So these amendments have been introduced. Why? Sir, in order to strengthen the governance standard, the corporate governance is a very important topic for your RBI grade B exam, not only in phase 2, but if we talk with respect to phase 1, then इस टॉपिक से रिलेटेड यू शुड गो विद द बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस ऑफ द बैंकिंग सेक्टर बिफोर यू सिट फॉर द फाइनल फेज 1 एग्जामिनेशन. यू नेवर नो, अगर कोई क्वेश्चन यहां से बनाया लेकिन उस क्वेश्चन में एक स्टेटमेंट अगर कॉन्सेप्चुअल दे दी, देन यू शुड बी रेडी फॉर दैट एज वेल. बिफोर इशूइंग द फाइनल डायरेक्शन, आरबीआई हैज फर्स्ट रिलीज्ड द ड्राफ्ट in January and looking forward for the suggestions. I hope now we know that RBI is mandatory, or RBI has made it a standard that RBI will be coming up with a draft, and RBI will give minimum 21 days. RBI will give minimum 21 days to the public, to the stakeholders to give their suggestions. After that, RBI will read, or I would say RBI will check out those suggestions if required. If required, RBI will include those suggestions, and after including, RBI can come up with a final guideline. But ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि 21 days के बाद RBI को लगे कि यार suggestions की वजह से the entire structure is need to be revised. अगर आपका जो guideline है उसका पूरे का पूरा entire structure is need to be revised, then RBI will come up with a new draft. RBI will come up with a new draft for the same, with again 21 days minimum timeline, and then RBI will come up with the final guidelines once RBI has received all the feedbacks. So remember that RBI incorporated suitable modifications and then issued the final amendment directions, and these directions were introduced on 25th of May 2026. अब ये किस पे applicable है? So these are applicable on both urban cooperative bank as well as rural cooperative bank. For urban cooperative bank, RBI has amended the urban cooperative bank governance direction, and similarly for rural cooperative bank, RBI has amended the rural cooperative governance direction 2025. Now, the next point is the core change introduced by RBI is that any director who completes 10 continuous years, please stay with me, ध्यान से सुनना. This has been very clearly mentioned that the core change has been introduced. RBI says that any director who completes 10 continuous, this is very important, 10 continuous years on the board of same cooperative bank will no longer be eligible for immediate appointment. I'm not saying that he is not eligible for reappointment, but he is not eligible for immediate reappointment. Such a person can be reappointed only if they complete a cooling off period of 3 years. So during this cooling off period, the customer will be, or customer can be, or sorry, the director can be the normal individual, the customer of the bank, but he or she will not be associated with the same bank in the managerial role or maybe advisory role or maybe any role related to governance. तो ये point याद रखना. The same person can remain connected as a normal member of cooperative bank as discussed in the previous sessions. Normal members of the cooperative banks we have discussed, तो उसमें बात नहीं करेंगे. As well as you can stay as a customer. बट ये पॉइंट मार्क करने लायक है. बट आरबीआई ने क्लियरली कहा कि सर ऐसा भी नहीं है, अगर आप किसी और बैंक के डायरेक्टर बनना चाहते हैं एंड इफ यू फुलफिल द एलिजिबिलिटी कंडीशंस देन यस you can be appointed. There is no issue. So RBI has clarified that director may still become a director of another bank if they satisfied the eligibility criteria. RBI को कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. क्वेश्चन ये आता है कि सर आप बड़ी बार बोल चुके हो इन दिस वीडियो, इन दिस सेशन, व्हाट इज कूलिंग ऑफ पीरियड और व्हाट इज कूलिंग ऑफ पीरियड. तो बताओ सर व्हाट इज कूलिंग ऑफ पीरियड. अगर मैं कूलिंग ऑफ पीरियड की बात करूं, द concept of cooling off period is extremely important in banking governance. A cooling off period refers to mandatory waiting period during which a person must stay away from a particular office or position before becoming eligible again. So RBI has introduced this requirement क्योंकि भैया अगर आप डायरेक्टर हैं and you will be serving for a long period, you have completed 10 years, then you have again reappointed. That means अगर आपने कोई पॉलिसी बनाई, if you have constructed a policy and that policy is not worthy enough, or if anything wrong is going on in the board of directors policy making format or execution format or anything like that, then it won't be rectified, it won't be overruled, it won't be taken into consideration, which will impact the growth of cooperative banks as well as the entire economy. तो आरबीआई ने कहा सर ये बहुत जरूरी है because continuous directors on the board can weaken the governance standards. They can increase concentration of power as well as it can reduce the independent decision making. So fresh leadership and periodic rotation of directors are considered for ensuring transparency, accountability and better management practices in banks. ठीक है जी, क्लियर है, सिंपल है, कोई रॉकेट साइंस नहीं है. अब इसमें कुछ एक्ट्स रिलेटेड बातें मैं बताता हूं. सबसे पहले ये जो चेंज किया गया, दिस अमेंडमेंट हैज बीन डन with the help of Banking Regulation Act 1949, and this amendment is linked to the section 10A of Banking Regulation Act 1949 where the limit has been revised. This is not the first time that any announcement has been done by RBI in this context. RBI has made the same announcements or same type of announcements in the past as well. और अगर मैं उन announcements की बात करूं तो RBI has under the Banking Regulation Amendment Act 2020, RBI has come up with a provision that urban cooperative banks as well as rural cooperative banks, they can have their directors on board for continuous 10 years, which was allowed earlier for 8 years only, which was effective from 1st of August 2025. और अगर मैं बात करूं, the same rule is applied on state cooperative banks, central cooperative banks as well as rural cooperative banks because the state cooperative bank is the apex cooperative bank which is operating in the operating at a state level and central is the apex bank operating at a district level. तो ये मैंने definitions भी आपको यहाँ पे दे दी है जिसको नहीं पता हो. तो दोनों ही केसेस में it was applicable from इस केस में it was applicable from 1st of August 2025. The provision for the rural cooperative bank, it came into effect bit early in 2021, but that was basically related to the tenure announced. but अब उस tenure announced के साथ साथ in August 2025 it was applicable for a continuous 10 years period. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गई बात. If it is clear just give me yes sir. Sir has the draft अभी नहीं आया यार, आएगा तो बता दूंगा. What if his term is still left, can he or she complete the term? हाँ तो 10 years तो complete कर ही सकते ना भाई, 10 years तो कंप्लीट कर ही सकते हो. और मान लो 10 years के बाद नाउ यू हैव रीअपॉइंटेड, then also you will be allowed to complete your tenure of 10 years. This is this will be applicable from the for the new appointments, the appointments which are going to be done in the near future, the appointments at the time of appointment, that cooling off period is need to be checked. So it is for the new ones. Clear है? सागर, ऋषभ, आपके डाउट्स अगर क्लियर है, give me yes sir. Allowing dictate directorship of another bank while introducing cooling off period, will this be advantageous? Advantages नहीं है यार, इसमें बस ये है कि नए बैंक को डाइवर्सिफाई होगा, नए बैंक का बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स या ग्रुप ऑफ, या मैं कहूँ कि बोर्ड मेंबर्स डाइवर्सिफाई हो जाएंगे बिकॉज ऑफ द इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ न्यू मेंबर at the board from some different bank, and he will be coming up with his own expertise, with his own experiences, and that may have, or that may come up with a good contribution to the new bank in which he or she will be appointed. That is a point. ठीक है. अब इसमें आरबीआई ने चेंजेस क्यों किए मैं बता चुका हूं. रीजंस क्या था सर? दे वर रिजाइनिंग फॉर अ शॉर्ट पीरियड. रिजाइनिंग फॉर अ शॉर्ट पीरियड का मतलब कि भैया 6 महीने रिजाइन कर दिया, फिर ज्वाइन कर लिया, फिर 6 महीने के लिए रिजाइन कर दिया, फिर ज्वाइन कर लिया. ऐसे करते करते दे कैलकुलेट द 3 years, और दे शो दैट वी हैव गिवन अ ब्रेक फ्रॉम आवर पोजीशन which is not acceptable. आरबीआई ने क्लियरली बोल दिया कि अब ऐसा नहीं होगा. If you have resigned even for 2.5 years, then also this will not be considered. If you are completing your 10 years of tenure, it should be continuous 3 years of cooling off period. It should be continuous of cooling off period of 3 years. Then getting re-elected or co-opted quickly and continuing on the board for much larger than allowed. So ये वो रीजंस थे जिसकी वजह से आरबीआई को ऐसा करना पड़ा, ताकि आरबीआई कैन कम अप विद बोर्ड रोटेशन, बेटर गवर्नेंस, फ्रेश लीडरशिप एज वेल एज लेस कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ कंट्रोल इन द सेम हैंड्स. नीरज का क्वेश्चन काफी अच्छा है. नीरज का क्वेश्चन ये है कि सर व्हाई ओनली कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स. तो नीरज, आपके क्वेश्चन का आंसर देने से पहले आई हैव वन मोर क्वेश्चन फॉर यू नीरज, इफ यू कैन आंसर मी. द क्वेश्चन इज हाउ directors of cooperative banks are appointed. How directors of cooperative banks are appointed. Any idea? सर अगर डायरेक्टर कॉन्टिन्यूस 9 years के बाद अगर लीव करके फर्स्ट अगर अपॉइंटमेंट हुआ तो फिर से 10 years के लिए सर्व कर सकते हैं. सर अगर डायरेक्टर्स ने कॉन्टिन्यूस 9 years के बाद अगर लीव करके पहले लीव किया, ठीक है, तो 10 साल के लिए कर सकते हैं, लेकिन कूलिंग ऑफ पीरियड तो इन्वॉल्व होगा ना. 10 साल तो मैक्सिमम टेन्योर है, वो मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ. वंस यू हैव बीन अ डायरेक्टर, then you have to go with continuous 3 years of cooling off period. बट वहां पे कंडीशन ये है that you must have served as a director for continuous 10 years. अगर आपने 9 years किया है, उसके बाद का ये क्लॉज कैसा होगा? अभी के लिए जो आप कह रहे हो प्रैक्टिकली वैसा ही लग रहा है कि वो हो सकता है कि that is possible, they can be reappointed for 10 years. That is possible because that is not continuous 10 years. Voting by real members, voting internally, internal elections. Very good. ठीक है जी. तो मैं बताता हूँ. Directors, they are appointed with the help of, I would say, most of the directors are elected by the members or shareholders of the cooperative banks. Suppose a cooperative bank has 2 lakh members. So member vote in elections and they choose the board of directors, and the elected members, they manages lending, branch expansion, strategy, management oversight and whatnot. But along with that, what is the role of RBI? So after banking sector reforms, directors must satisfy the RBI norms regarding integrity, banking knowledge, financial soundness, as well as absence of any criminal or willful default. ठीक. तीसरी कंडीशन है प्रोफेशनल डायरेक्टर्स. सर्टेन डायरेक्टर्स दे मे बी रिक्वायर्ड टू हैव एक्सपर्टीज इन बैंकिंग, फाइनेंस, एग्रीकल्चर, रिस्क और मैनेजमेंट. एंड इवन वी हैव द स्टेट government nominees. So we have the nominees from state government, RBI, NABARD, and they mainly nominate the directors when financial assistance is given. पैसा दिया तो देखना है कि पैसा कैसे यूज हो रहा है. बैंक अगर स्ट्रेस में है तो नॉमिनी अपॉइंट किए जाते हैं, या फिर फॉर एनी काइंड ऑफ reconstruction of the bank is need to be done. In that particular case, nominees are appointed. This is all about your urban cooperative banks. अब अगर मैं state cooperative banks या फॉर दैट मैटर डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स की बात करूं, दे आर board generally include the elected representatives from member societies as well as state government and NABARD nominees. So अगर मैं practical level पे बात करूं तो generally जो state cooperative banks हैं उनमें 10 directors they are elected by cooperative societies, 2 nominated by state government, 1 is nominated by NABARD and 2 experts that is the co-opted professionals are also included. तो अगर आप इस पूरी बात से समझे तो आरबीआई का कोई डायरेक्ट इन्वॉल्वमेंट आरबीआई का कोई डायरेक्ट इन्वॉल्वमेंट नहीं है while appointing or while having the appointment of directors at cooperative bank, while having the appointments at directors while having the appointment of directors at cooperative banks. लेकिन अगर यही मैं आपसे पूछूं कि सर जो हमारे कमर्शियल बैंक्स हैं उनके डायरेक्टर्स कैसे अपॉइंट किए जाते हैं. So for example, if I talk about public sector banks, in case of public sector banks, government appointed directors are there. That means the central government appoints many directors under Banking Companies Act, as well as if it is SBI, then they appoint under the SBI Act as well. And these appointments are generally made on the recommendation coming from Ministry of Finance or Financial Services Institution Bureau. ठीक है, अब यहाँ पे अगर आप समझो नीरज, जो हमारे कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स हैं वहां पे कहीं ना कहीं आरबीआई या गवर्नमेंट का डायरेक्ट इन्वॉल्वमेंट नहीं है एट द टाइम ऑफ अपॉइंटमेंट, लेकिन बाकी जो बैंक्स हैं उसमें आरबीआई का डायरेक्ट इन्वॉल्वमेंट है. तो अगर जहां आरबीआई का डायरेक्ट इन्वॉल्वमेंट है वहां आरबीआई इज ओके विद इट, लेकिन जहां आरबीआई को लगे कि डायरेक्ट इन्वॉल्वमेंट नहीं है, देयर इज द नीड ऑफ आरबीआईज इन्वॉल्वमेंट, देयर इज अ नीड ऑफ आरबीआईज इन्वॉल्वमेंट. ठीक है जी, क्लियर होगी ये बात, समझ आ गई. आरबीआई का अप्रूवल तो चाहिए, दैट इज फाइन. अब पॉइंट आता है प्राइवेट बैंक्स के केस में. सर अगर मैं प्राइवेट बैंक्स की बात करूं, सो बोर्ड और नॉमिनेशन कमेटी इट सेलेक्ट्स द कैंडिडेट. सो नॉमिनेशन एंड रेम्युनरेशन कमेटी इज देयर एंड द एग्जिस्टिंग बोर्ड they identify and recommend the new director to be appointed. Shareholder approval is also required and RBI approval is also required. But अगर आप देखें दोनों ही केसेस में RBI का काफी ज्यादा इन्वॉल्वमेंट है इन द अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स इन कंपैरिजन टू कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स, इसीलिए ऐसा करना पड़ा, इसीलिए चेंज इंट्रोड्यूस करना पड़ा. बोलो ठीक है, क्लियर है. नीरज डाउट का आंसर मिल गया बेटा? अच्छा डाउट था बट आई होप इट इज क्लियर टू एवरीबॉडी. चलो कमिंग बैक टू द न्यूज, क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करते हैं. लेट्स ट्राई टू सॉल्व अ क्वेश्चन. So consider the following statement with respect to RBI's amendment directions 2026. क्या कहती है डायरेक्शन? फर्स्ट, RBI has introduced a mandatory cooling off period for directors of urban cooperative banks and rural cooperative banks after completion of 10 continuous years on the board of the same bank. That is true. During the cooling off period, the director cannot remain associated with the same bank in any capacity other than it can be a member or a customer. That is true. Banking Laws Amendment Act 2025 reduced the maximum tenure of directors from 10 to 8 years. No, sir, it has been increased rather from 8 to 10 years. RBI observed that some directors were bypassing the tenure limits by resigning briefly and then returning to the board through re-election. That is correct. All interruption of less than 3 years in directorship will still be continued while calculating the continuous tenure. An interruption of less than 3 years will be included. ये पॉइंट को समझना जरा ध्यान से, क्या कह रहा है. The fifth statement says RBI ने बहुत क्लियरली कहा है, if the interruption in directorship is less than 3 years, the previous period of service will still be counted while calculating the continuous tenure. ये पॉइंट समझ आ रहा है कि मान लो आज आपने 9 साल तक काम किया, जो क्वेश्चन आपने पूछा था मैंने वहां पे इंटेंसली उसको अच्छे समझाया नहीं, आपको लग रहा होगा बता क्यों नहीं रहे हो, क्योंकि मुझे फिफ्थ पॉइंट यह पता था. तो इसके बाद अगर आपने यहाँ ब्रेक ले ली, तो ब्रेक लेने के बाद आप दोबारा आए और आपने कहा सर मेरे तो 3 साल हो चुके हैं, तो अब मुझे अगली बार 10 साल के लिए फिर से अपॉइंट कर दो. तो यहाँ पे आरबीआई ने बहुत क्लियरली कहा है कि अगर आपका ये जो इंटरप्शन है, योर जॉब है एंड इट इज नॉट कॉन्टिन्यूअस for up to 3 years. So that up to 3 years वाला जो factor है, that will result in including the previous tenure while taking the decision of the next tenure. तो इसका मतलब यहाँ पे जो आपको tenure मिलेगी, that will be not 10 years, it will be 1 year. After 1 year, you again have to take 3 years of break, and then you can come back for 10 years. Then you can come back for 10 years. Is it clear? Is it clear? तो अगर याद ध्यान से सुनो कि सर अगर किसी ने 9 साल सर्व किया, जैसा आप कह रहे थे, तो मैंने यहाँ कहा था हाँ ठीक है यार, अब 6 महीने जाओ, दोबारा आ जाओ, तो रिअपॉइंटमेंट थोड़ी ना, ये ऐसा नहीं है. अगर आप you were serving as a director, then you resigned maybe for 2 years, or maybe you were on medical leave, or maybe some other reason, there was an interruption in your job for less than 3 years. In that case, after rejoining, you will get 1 year only, because the continuous tenure cannot be greater than 10 years. So in that particular case, answer to this particular question is none other than B option. Clear है जी? समझ आ गया पॉइंट? पक्का? चलो लो एक क्वेश्चन और करके देखो. गिव इट अ ट्राई. गिव इट अ ट्राई गाइस. नो, चलो कोई बात नहीं. अगर नहीं आ रहा आंसर, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. टेक इट एज अ होमवर्क. टेक द स्क्रीनशॉट. आई विल बी लुकिंग फॉर योर आंसर्स इन द कमेंट सेक्शन. आप लोगों ने कमेंट में आंसर्स देने कम कर दिए. मैंने अगली क्लास में वो क्वेश्चंस को रिवाइज करवाना बंद कर दिया. सो प्लीज, इफ यू वांट मी टू रिवाइज दी questions, you must give your answers in the comment section. ठीक है जी. अब स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो. We'll discuss it in the next class. Now let's move on to the next news. The next news is related to 623rd meeting of Central Board of RBI. This 623rd meeting of Central Board of RBI has majorly revolved around RBI's income declaration. RBI's income declaration. You might have heard about that recently RBI has transferred its surplus to the government. RBI has transferred its surplus to the government, and this is the highest ever surplus transferred by RBI till date. अब क्वेश्चन ये है कि सर RBI ये surplus ट्रांसफर करता क्यों है? वी ऑल नो दैट whenever we say RBI, sir, RBI is 100% owned by Government of India. It's a government owned company, and if it is a government owned company, so the net profit of RBI will undoubtedly be transferred to its owner. And who is the owner here? So the owner is Government of India. Now the question over here is, so whenever we talk about RBI, what are the sources of income? What are the sources of income for RBI? Any idea, guys? Any idea? What are the basic sources of income for RBI? कहाँ से RBI पैसा कमा रहा है? Anyone can give me the answer? तो मैं सबसे पहले बात करूं तो सर RBI is earning good chunk of income from its owner only, that is interest on government securities. We all know that RBI issue the government securities on the behalf of government, but RBI also purchase those government securities, invest its funds, and RBI is also earning the interest rates. So that is the first source of income. The second source of income is return from the forex reserves. Return from the forex reserves का मतलब सर RBI जो forex reserves रखता है, it is not only in foreign currency format, it is also in the form of foreign currency asset. और ये जो foreign currency assets हैं, these are foreign entity issued securities. और अगर ये foreign entity issued securities हैं, if these are the foreign entity issued securities, then undoubtedly on these securities RBI is again earning the interest, or RBI is again receiving the income. Then RBI is responsible for liquidity management, and in case of liquidity management, RBI provides loan to the banks against repo rate or maybe MSF. RBI also help the banks to manage their long-term fund needs with the help of bank rates. All these are the source of income. All these are the source of income for RBI. Then RBI also invests its funds. For example, RBI has invested the funds in some company's share. I'm just taking an example. That will be investment income. RBI is also involved in the financial market operations, and while operating the financial market, RBI is charges against its services for foreign exchange, for international transfer and whatnot. So that also becomes a source of income for RBI. अब सबसे बड़ा क्वेश्चन है कि सर आरबीआई करेंसी प्रिंट करता, डू यू थिंक दैट करेंसी विच इज प्रिंटेड बाय आरबीआई इट्स अ प्रॉफिट, इट्स एन इनकम फॉर आरबीआई? आप लोग कैसे सोचते हैं, सुनना. So whenever RBI is printing a currency, let's say RBI is printing a 500 rupee note, और अगर RBI 500 rupee note print कर रहा है, the actual cost of printing is, let's say, I don't know, it's let's say 2.5 rupees. Now you must be wondering, RBI spent 2.5 plus इसमें ऐड कर लो बाकी के जो एडिशनल चार्जेस है, which include storage, which include security, which include transportation and whatnot. इन सबको भी अगर आप इंक्लूड कर लोगे, then also there is a good amount of difference, and this amount of difference is RBI's profit. My answer is no. This is not RBI's profit. The reason is actually the currency printed by RBI is RBI's liability. And in order to print the currency, RBI is making an expenditure. Now, if the same currency is used by RBI to purchase the government securities, and then on government securities, RBI is earning the interest. So we will say that RBI is earning the interest. It's a source of income, which we have already mentioned. So only and only printing the currency, only and only circulating the currency is not a source of income for RBI. Rather, it's an expense on RBI, and even the currency printed by RBI is liability on RBI, because हम धारक को 100 रुपए देने का वादा करते हैं, promise to pay the bearer the sum of 500 rupees. That is the liability actually. तो जब कोई जाकर आरबीआई से अपना पैसा वापस मांगेगा, आरबीआई इज लायबल टू पे बैक. लेकिन हाउ आरबीआई इज यूजिंग दिस प्रिंटेड करेंसी? सर आरबीआई विल बी परचेजिंग एन असेट अगेंस्ट इट, एंड द मोमेंट आरबीआई परचेज एन असेट, तो आरबीआई ने क्या किया, करेंसी जो आरबीआई के पास है उससे आरबीआई ने एक असेट परचेज की, उस असेट पे आरबीआई को रिटर्न मिला, एंड दैट रिटर्न विल बिकम आरबीआई's income. So this can be termed as what you are trying to write, that is signiorage. Yes, that is correct. तो अगर आप कहना चाहते हैं कि सिर्फ और सिर्फ प्रिंटिंग कॉस्ट में और फेस वैल्यू में जो डिफरेंस है, दैट इज एक्चुअल इनकम ऑफ आरबीआई under the term which you have written on the screen, signiorage, so I would say no, this is not correct. The difference is not the income, but the utilization of rupees to generate asset, and then that asset pays the return, and then that return becomes income, but not the printing of currency, but not the currency itself become the source of income for RBI, rather it is a liability on RBI. अरे बोल यार, क्लियर हुआ ये पॉइंट? समझ आया? दोबारा बताऊं? समझ आया या दोबारा बताऊं? चलो मैं दोबारा बताता हूं. अगर मैं बात करूं इनकम की, वी ऑल नो दैट इनकम इज जनरेटेड फ्रॉम असेट ओनली, है ना. अब अगर मैं आरबीआई के असेट और लायबिलिटी की बात करूं, तो आरबीआई की अगर मैं असेट की बात करूं, तो आरबीआई के पास क्या क्या असेट्स हैं. तो इफ आई टॉक अबाउट द आरबीआई असेट्स, देन इन दैट पर्टिकुलर केस गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज विद आरबीआई, Forex reserves with RBI. Forex reserves with RBI as a source of, it's an asset for RBI. Along with that, we have loans and advances which RBI has provided to the banks as well as other financial institutes. It is basically asset. तो अब RBI करता क्या है सर? RBI basically convert its currency, whichever currency is printed by RBI, RBI convert that currency into asset, and later on this asset generate income for RBI. On the other side, if I talk about liability, in case of liability, the biggest liability on the RBI is currency in circulation or currency notes in circulation. Currency notes in circulation. Second liability is bank deposit with RBI. तो RBI सिर्फ और सिर्फ लोन नहीं देता, बैंक के डिपॉजिट को एक्सेप्ट भी करता. RBI accept the surplus funds of the bank, and these surplus funds of the banks will become again a liability on RBI. Then we have government deposits, the deposits of the government with RBI. That is also an example. That is also an example of liability. Then we have other operations which RBI has to perform. They become the part of liability. Actually, where currency is liability on RBI, but when RBI use this currency to create an asset, then that asset creates an income or return, and then that return becomes income for RBI. Then that return becomes income for RBI. Bolo, clear hai? Is this point clear? Is this point clear? If it is clear, just give me yes, sir. On the other side, if I say, so what are the destinations of expenditure? RBI अपना पैसा खर्च कहाँ करता है? आपने इनकम तो बता दिया, अब ये भी बता दो कि RBI खर्चा कहाँ करता है. सर, RBI का सबसे बड़ा कॉस्ट है एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कॉस्ट, दैट इज ऑपरेशनल कॉस्ट. अब इस ऑपरेशनल कॉस्ट में आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द सैलरीज जो कल को आपको मिलने वाली है द मोमेंट यू बिकम RBI ग्रेड बी ऑफिसर. देन RBI स्पेंड on currency printing. Then RBI make expenditure on currency printing. Even RBI make expense on their employees. तो एक तो होता है सैलरी, और उसके अलावा जो employee benefits and all, they also become the part of expenditure. And the last part is which is really very important, that is RBI is maintaining certain part of reserves as well. I would say this is not expense, but out of net, or I would say out of net profit, out of income, we subtract expenditure, and after subtracting expenditure, what we get? So we get net profit, but this net profit is not available to be transferred to the government, because out of this RBI will maintain certain reserves to counter the risk in the near future, and after maintaining the reserves, the left out amount, that is the surplus amount, will be transferred to Government of India. I will be talking about this reserve as well. Give me few minutes. I'll discuss the entire news. Please pay attention. So Sanjay Malhotra ji, as the governor of RBI, chaired the Central Board of Directors 623rd meeting. Major discussion was around the global scenario, the global economy, how the economy is performing and whatnot. And along with that, the discussions which were done, they were done with respect to the macroeconomic developments, possible risk to economic growth, inflation trends, financial market conditions and overall outlook. But उसके साथ साथ जो major chunk of discussion था, that was on the RBI, that was on RBI's income as well. That is on RBI's income declaration as well for the financial year 2025-26. So first is, there is a strong increase in RBI's income. In 2025-26, we have witnessed that RBI income has increased by 26.42%. Very important data, mark कर लो, याद रखना है, इसको भूल नहीं सकते. और RBI ये जो income calculate करता है, that income is calculated after subtracting total earnings and after subtracting the total expenditures from your total earnings. Then RBI receives the net profit, and that net profit is basically utilized to maintain certain reserves, और उसके बाद जो पैसा बचेगा, that will be transferred to the government. So I'm not talking about the gross surplus over here. I'm talking about the gross income of RBI. I'm talking about gross income of RBI, and this gross income refers to the total earnings before deducting expense. After deducting expense, it becomes net profit, or net earnings can also be used, or this statement can also be said. So RBI earns income from interest on government securities, return from foreign exchange reserves, liquidity management operations, investment income, currency and financial market operations, as well as there is a significant increase in RBI's income this year because of the returns have increased on domestic as well as international financial assets. तो जितनी भी financial assets थी RBI के पास, most of the financial assets पे returns क्या हुए, increase हुए due to the geopolitical tensions. So उन returns को अगर मैं add करूं, it has added or it has given a positive push to RBI, because of which RBI's gross earnings have increased. Moving on to the next point, अगला point जो यहाँ पे important है, at the same time the expenditure has also increased. Expenditure has also increased, making the risk provision increased by 27.60%. तो जो आपका expense है, जो आपका expense है, उस एक्सपेंस में अगर हम बात करें, एक्सपेंस के बाद अगर हम बात करें, देयर इज अ रिजर्व एज वेल, एंड आफ्टर इंक्लूडिंग दैट रिजर्व in the expense side only, then we calculate the net profit. The term before risk provision means that these expenses are calculated before setting aside funds for future financial risk or contingency. तो जो expenditure आया before risk provision, that is general expenditure, net expenditure will include these provision values as well. तो अगर मैं बात करूं आरबीआई के नेट इनकम की, तो आरबीआई's net income was 3,95,972 crore rupees in the financial year 2025-26, which was last year 3,13,455,000 crores. अब मेरा क्वेश्चन आपसे है, what is the surplus value RBI has transferred to Government of India? What is the surplus value transferred by RBI to Government of India? Any idea? Any idea, anybody? Actually, ये जो 100% owned subsidiaries of RBI है, if they are also earning income, that income will not be added into the RBI's income sheet directly, because they are operating independently, they are managing their funds independently. But yes, if there is a case of this format, we can say that yes, the income earned by the subsidiaries. अच्छा चलो इसको लिखते हैं, इसको एक क्वेश्चन बना लेते हैं. So the question is, income by RBI subsidiaries is included in the RBI's overall income or not? So you have to give me this answer in the comment section. So what is the surplus transferred to the government? So the surplus which is transferred to the government is 2.86 lakh crores, which is around 1 lakh, which is around 1 lakh, कितना होगा 1 lakh and 7 कर लो अगर मैं इसको, तो 1,07,000 crores is the expense plus reserves. It is the expense plus reserves. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गई बात, समझ आ गया. तो एक्सपेंस और रिजर्व अगर मैं ऐड करूंगा तो वो टोटल कितना था? सो दैट द टोटल इज 3.95. बट द मोमेंट आई हैव डिडक्टेड the value to maintain the reserves, then we have come up with the given answer. Okay? If somebody asks me what is the size of balance sheet of RBI, so the balance sheet of RBI size is 91.97 लाख करोड़, जितना मुझे याद आ रहा है 91.97 लाख करोड़. और जो RBI की बैलेंस शीट है, it has also witnessed a jump of 20%. It has also witnessed a jump of 20%. ठीक है. अगला पॉइंट क्या कहता है? अच्छा ये है बैलेंस शीट साइज है, दैट इज फाइन. असेट मेनली इंक्लूड, लाइबिलिटीज मेनली इंक्लूड, ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड. अब आता है आरबीआई का अगला इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट, दैट इज इकोनॉमिक capital framework. So one of the most important discussion during the meeting was related to economic capital framework, which is basically a framework used by RBI to determine how much financial cushion, how much reserves RBI has to keep in order to manage its future risk. So RBI target market risk, currency risk, interest rate risk, financial crisis, unexpected economic shocks, and the revised ECF allows RBI to maintain contingent buffer between a range of 4.5 to 7.5% of RBI's balance sheet. So 4.5 to 7.5% of RBI's balance sheet. Is this point clear till now? Is this point clear till now? If it is clear, just give me yes, sir. Okay, now let's move on what is contingent risk buffer? So contingent risk buffer is basically the ये ECB क्या है सर? ये पॉलिसी है और इस पॉलिसी के तहत किसे डिसाइड किया जाता है? Contingent risk buffer. What is contingent? Any emergency situation. So in order to counter any unforeseen financial risk, RBI has to maintain a cushion to protect RBI from exchange rate volatility, to protect RBI from market losses, financial instability, operational risk, external economic shocks, and after considering all these conditions, Central Board has decided to transfer 1.09 lakh crores towards CRB. तो अगर मैं बात करूं पिछले साल, in the previous year, what was the value? So what was the value? The value was, the transfer was 44,000 crores. This time the transfer is 109,000 crores or 1.09 lakh crores. After this transfer, CRB was maintained at 6.5%. तो अगर हमसे को पूछे RBI ने CRB किस वैल्यू पे मेंटेन किया? Sir, it has been maintained at 6.5%. Now you must be wondering, is a 6.5% of 91 lakh crore का 6.5% of 91 लाख करोड़ का, सर ये 1,09,000 तो नहीं होगा, ये तो इससे ज्यादा वैल्यू होगी. तो 1,09,000 ट्रांसफर करने से कैसे 6.5% की फिगर अचीव हो गई? सर दैट इज बिकॉज कि ऑलरेडी भी तो रिजर्व था ना, उसी रिजर्व में और ऐड किया, तो उस एडिशन के बाद जो टोटल रिजर्व निकल के आया, विच इज इक्वल टू 6.5% ऑफ RBI's बैलेंस शीट साइज. ठीक है. अब सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को RBI ने कितना पैसा ट्रांसफर किया? सो द ट्रांसफर वैल्यू टू द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट इज 2.86 लाख करोड़. अब गवर्नमेंट को इस पैसे का क्या फायदा? जितना ज्यादा नॉन टैक्स या जितना ज्यादा RBI का सरप्लस होगा, उतना ज्यादा गवर्नमेंट के लिए बेनिफिशियल होगा, बिकॉज इट्स अ सोर्स ऑफ इनकम फॉर गवर्नमेंट. इट विल रिड्यूस गवर्नमेंट्स fiscal pressure, it will reduce government's fiscal deficit, it will increase government's income, it will help government to manage the fiscal deficit, it will increase public capacity, support welfare schemes and fund infrastructure. इसके अलावा और क्या बातें हुई? सर इसके अलावा मीटिंग में they talked about RBI strong growth in RBI's income, they talked about expansion of RBI's balance sheet, they talked about strengthening of financial risk buffer, record surplus transfer to the government, and RBI continue to focus on macroeconomic and financial stability. ठीक है जी. Is it clear now? Is it clear? Previous obviously include होगा ना यार, reserves तो वही है ना, bucket तो वही है. ये तो वो बात हुई कि अगर आप मान लो हरमन, आपने एक RD ओपन की और उस RD में आपने सोचा कि मैं हर महीने 2,000 रुपए डालूंगा, ताकि अगर मुझे अगले महीने जरूरत पड़ी तो मेरे पास ये 2,000 रिजर्व्स है. तो RD भी छोड़ो, आपने एक पिगी बैंक लगा लिया, तो हर महीने आप उसमें 2,000 तो डाल ही रहे हैं, लेकिन हर महीने 2,000 डालने से जो पीछे वाला पैसा है वो तो वहीं पड़ा ना, तो ऑटोमेटिकली जो टोटल वैल्यू है वो तो इंक्रीज हो गई. नाउ दिस टोटल वैल्यू इज कैपेबल टू मैनेज योर नेक्स्ट 10 मंथ्स रिस्क. कि भाई अगर हर महीने 2,000 का भी रिस्क होगा, आपकी जो पिगी बैंक है उसमें 20,000 रुपए पड़े हैं, यू कैन इजिली मैनेज 10 टफ मंथ्स. यू कैन इजिली मैनेज 10 टफ मंथ्स. डन? क्लियर? नहीं करेगा, नहीं करेगा ऑब्वियसली. क्यों नहीं करेगा? क्योंकि सर यहाँ पे जो प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स है उसमें डिफरेंसेस है, पहली चीज. दूसरा, RBI ने जो सरप्लस ट्रांसफर किया, दैट हैज बीन ट्रांसफर्ड आफ्टर मेकिंग और आफ्टर मेंटेनिंग गुड चंक ऑफ रिजर्व्स. तो वही तो उसने RBI ने बैंक्स को भी कहा, जिस बैंक के पास कैपिटल एडिक्वेसी रेशियो 20% से ज्यादा है या 21% से ज्यादा, उसको RBI ने कहा तो है, देयर इज नो रिस्ट्रिक्शन, यू कैन इवन डिस्ट्रीब्यूट इक्वल टू 75% ऑफ योर प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स. बाकियों के लिए तो वो भी अलाउड नहीं है. डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द सिचुएशन, डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द साइज, these decisions are taken. I hope it is clear, Rishabh. Chalo, now let's talk about this. The meeting was chaired by Sanjay Malhotra ji. Correct, the gross income has increased more than 25%. Correct. RBI balance sheet contracted. Wrong. It has also increased by 20%. Revised economic capital framework allows contingent risk buffer 4.5 to 7.5%, but this time RBI is currently maintaining it at 6.5%. 6.5% of what? So 6.5% of balance sheet. Central Board approved a surplus transfer of more than 2.8 lakh crore rupees for the financial year 2025-26 to the government of India. That is also correct. So keeping that in mind, sir, only Third statement is wrong. Rest all the statements are correct. So answer is going to be 1, 2, 4, 5. B option is the correct answer. ठीक है जी, क्लियर हो गया पॉइंट, समझ आ गया. चलो अगला क्वेश्चन, स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो. Take the screenshot. You have 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess done. Chalo. Moving on to the last news of the day. The last news talks about quantum secure and adaptive financial ecosystem. See, we have heard about quantum physics. आपने सुना होगा. तो ये जो quantum word है, ये क्या है? Sir, it is basically, I would say, quantum technology is basically a technology which is capable to solve complex problems much faster in comparison to normal computers. You can think it like a supercomputer. So the technology which is used, the flow of data, the processing of data, the answering the or calculating the result, the entire process of the computer which is based on high-tech capacity to give the results, सुपर कंप्यूटर फॉर एग्जाम्पल, दैट इज नोन एज क्वांटम टेक्नोलॉजी. सो यहाँ पे ये आ रहा है कि क्यों ना बैंक्स को क्वांटम टेक्नोलॉजी से रूबरू कराया जाए. व्हाई नॉट वी शुड इंट्रोड्यूस quantum technology for the banking system so that they can manage their servers pretty well, what they are pretty well in comparison to the issues they are prevailing today, the issues they are facing today while managing huge data with the help of normal computers. So इस बात पे डिसीजन लेने से पहले आरबीआई को लगा कि एक्सपर्ट कमेटी बनाते हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि क्वांटम टेक्नोलॉजी कैन क्रिएट सीरियस कंसर्न्स एज वेल, because many of the cryptographic system currently used to protect digital banking, payment networks and financial data may weak or unsafe in the near future. अगर क्वांटम कंप्यूटर्स को हमने पावरफुल बनाना है, अगर हमें चाहते हैं कि इसे पावरफुल बनाना है, तो उसके लिए हमें क्वांटम कंप्यूटर्स की जरूरत है. ठीक है. सो इन ऑर्डर टू डू दैट, रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया हैज डिसाइडेड टू सेट expert committee on quantum secure and adaptive financial ecosystem, which is called as QSAFE, very important, which is called as QSAFE. What is the purpose of this committee? So this committee will study quantum technology and its effect on the financial sector, especially banking, payment and digital security. RBI wants the committee to identify both opportunities as well as risks so that RBI can come up with the decision. And RBI also want this committee to check that whether the current rules and regulations of RBI are capable enough to manage the banking sector in near future with the help of quantum technology as well. So RBI wants to be proactive rather than reactive. Why this committee is needed? Because quantum mechanics such as superposition and entanglement, so it works on superposition and entanglement. These ideas, they allow quantum computers to solve certain complex problems much faster than normal computers, but they come up with serious concerns, they come up with serious issues. So this committee has been framed by RBI, which hold the specialists from government, banking sector, technology, cyber security related fields and whatnot. If I ask you who is the convener of this particular committee, the convener of this particular committee is Dr. Anil Prabhakar. And who is the member as well as secretary of this committee? So the secretary of this committee is Suvendu Pati. The secretary of this committee is Suvendu Pati. So remember these two names, Suvendu Pati as well as the convener Anil Prabhakar. As you can see, the convener is electrical engineer at IIT Madras. So he's the professor in Department of Electrical Engineer in IIT Madras. तो यहाँ पे टेक्नोलॉजी को अगर स्टडी कर रहे हैं तो टेक्नोलॉजी को स्टडी करने की कैपेसिटी के लोगों की जरूरत है. ही इज गोइंग टू बी द कन्वीनर ऑफ द कंपनी. वो कमेटी वो समझाएगा कैसे क्वांटम कंप्यूटर्स काम करते हैं, क्वांटम टेक्नोलॉजी काम करती है. फिर बैंकर्स जो सामने बैठे होंगे, दे विल कम अप विद देयर काउंटर्स कि इससे ये प्रॉब्लम होगी, ये प्रॉब्लम होगी और ये प्रॉब्लम होगी. देन दे विल फाइंड आउट द सॉल्यूशन एंड वंस they have discussed every aspect, then they will give the report to RBI. ठीक है जी, क्लियर है. अब यहाँ पे अगर मैं थोड़ी बात करूं, फिनटेक डिपार्टमेंट का क्या रोल है? सर डिपार्टमेंट एक आरबीआई का फिनटेक डिपार्टमेंट एक आरबीआई का डिपार्टमेंट है of the RBI central office, will provide secretarial support to the committee because this Suvendu Pati is from RBI's fintech department and he is the secretary of this particular committee. So they are providing the secretary support. This means they will help with coordination, documentation, communication and administrative support. The committee may also invite other experts from the industry if required. What the committee will study? So, firstly, they will study the possible benefits, risks, and challenges of quantum technology with respect to the financial sector. Secondly, committee will example cryptographic system used by financial sectors through something called cryptography bill of material, that is known as CBOM. CBOM की full form याद रखो, but CBOM होता क्या है सर? It's an inventory or list of cryptographic tools and methods used in digital system. तो जैसे आपके पास एक रिपोजिटरी होगी ऑफ योर मूवीज, रिपोजिटरी होगी ऑफ योर पीडीएफ्स फॉर आरबीआई ग्रेड बी, बिल्कुल उसी तरह एक रिपोजिटरी है ऑफ ऑल द क्रिप्टोग्राफिक टूल्स एंड दैट रिपोजिटरी इज नोन एज क्रिप्टोग्राफी बिल ऑफ मटेरियल्स. ठीक है जी. सो इट हेल्प्स आइडेंटिफाई विच सिस्टम डिपेंड्स ऑन विच एनक्रिप्शन स्टैंडर्ड. तो वहां से पता चल जाता है कौन सा सिस्टम कौन से स्टैंडर्ड पे डिपेंडेंट है. सो दिस इज इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज इंस्टीट्यूशंस नीड to know exactly where their security depends on existing cryptographic method. तो उसके basis पे if you analyze it, then you can come up with a safer quantum era as well. So committee will undoubtedly assess crypto agility. Crypto agility means the ability of an organization to quickly replace or upgrade one cryptographic method with another. तो सिर्फ यही नहीं कि हम आपके क्रिप्टोग्राफी का जो डेटाबेस है वो चेक होगा, ऐसा ही नहीं सिर्फ डायरेक्टरी चेक होगी, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ ये भी चेक होगा कौन सा बैंक कौन सी क्रिप्टोग्राफी टेक्नोलॉजी यूज कर रहा है. उससे भी आइडिया लगेगा दैट हाउ सिस्टम इज ऑपरेटिंग. सो इन सिंपल वर्ड्स, systems flexibility to shift to safer encryption without causing major disruption is the target, is the logic behind this particular committee recommendations. कि अगर हम quantum technology पे जा रहे हैं प्लस अगर हम क्रिप्टो टेक्नोलॉजी को और ज्यादा इंप्रूव करना चाहते हैं, तो ये नहीं चाहते करंट स्टैंडर्ड्स में कुछ इशू है, बस इसी को हम इंप्रूव कर दें. क्रिप्टो का मतलब होता क्या है, क्रिप्टोग्राफी का मतलब क्या होता है? अगर मैं इसको बहुत सिंपल भाषा में कहूँ, आपने यहाँ से एक मैसेज भेजा और आप चाहते हैं कि ये मैसेज कोई ना पढ़े, तो यू विल एनक्रिप्ट इट, देन इट विल बी डीक्रिप्टेड एट सर्वर्स एंड और एट द रिसीवर्स एंड, एंड दिस एंटायर प्रोसेस इज नोन एज क्रिप्शन. दिस एंटायर प्रोसेस इज नोन एज क्रिप्शन. इसीलिए क्रिप्टो करेंसी बना, बिकॉज इट इज ऑल्सो बेस्ड ऑन दिस क्रिप्शन वाला, एनक्रिप्शन वाला पार्ट ओनली. If I talk about the global comparison, the committee will also carry out cross-country study. This means it will look at how other countries they are preparing for quantum-safe financial system. In addition, the committee will also examine whether the existing regulatory framework is strong enough or not, or what all changes can be done. इतना ही नहीं, सिर्फ बोल देने से कुछ नहीं होगा सर. इंडस्ट्री पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से प्रिपेयर भी होना पड़ेगा. बहुत सारे टूल्स, बहुत सारी टेक्नोलॉजी, बहुत सारा पैसा, बहुत चीजें इन्वेस्ट होंगी. प्रैक्टिकल स्केल पे इट्स नॉट वेरी इजी to switch to quantum technology so early. It will take some time, but हाँ पहले से तैयारी कर लेंगे तो जाना आसान होगा. So after completing the study, committee will suggest a roadmap and a framework for making India's financial system quantum secure. तो इसे बनाने के लिए quantum secure फिर एक पूरे का पूरा एक रिपोर्ट का डिटेल्ड रिकमेंडेशन आएगा. और ये डिटेल्ड रिकमेंडेशन रिपोर्ट कितने समय में देगी सर? रिपोर्ट हैज बीन गिवन अ टाइमलाइन ऑफ 16 months. दे हैव टू शेयर देयर फाइंडिंग्स, दे हैव टू शेयर देयर रिकमेंडेशंस विद इन 6 months ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर कमेटी सेटअप. ठीक है जी, क्लियर होगी ये बात, समझ आ गया? तो क्या क्या चीजें इंपॉर्टेंट है? पहली चीज क्यू सेफ और उसकी फुल फॉर्म. एक्चुअली में क्यू सेफ क्या है? दैट्स इट. व्हाट इज द नेम ऑफ कन्वीनर एंड मेंबर सेक्रेटरी? The RBI department which is pushing this or holding tight this technology or this technology involvement, that is fintech department. Then we should know what is cryptography bill of material. We should know what is crypto agility, and RBI will, or this committee will examine the cryptographic systems as well as it will examine the crypto agility, that how well a bank can shift from one cryptographic method to the another cryptographic method and how efficiently this can be done. ठीक है जी, क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करते हैं. So the first question is, the committee has been constituted to study both opportunities and risks associated with quantum technology. That is true. Quantum technology uses principles such as superposition and entanglement. That is true. Committee will evaluate financial sector cryptographic inventory through cryptographic bill of materials. True. The committee has been asked to submit the report within 6 months. False. Fintech department will provide secretarial support to the committee. Yes. तो इस हिसाब से अगर हम आंसर के चले तो हमारा आंसर क्या होगा सर? बी ऑप्शन इज द करेक्ट आंसर. ठीक है जी, क्लियर है? क्लियर है? चलो गाइस, टेक द स्क्रीनशॉट ऑफ द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. Take the screenshot of the next question. You have 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So that will be all from my side guys. We'll catch you in the next session. I hope चीजें समझ आई होंगी. अगर आप चाहते हैं ये तीनों questions मैं आपके साथ अगली क्लास में डिस्कस करूं, you want me to discuss all these 3 questions in the next class, then do type their answers in the comment section and also type the answer. Also type the answer of the question I asked you regarding, what was that question? That was regarding the subsidiaries of RBI. ठीक है जी. एक और आ गया यार डाउट, ये भी अच्छा डाउट है सर. जो आरबीआई मॉनेटरी पेनल्टी चार्ज करता है, इज इट द सोर्स ऑफ आरबीआई इनकम? ये भी लिख लो, ये भी लिख लो क्वेश्चन. और अगली क्लास में मुझे आते ही पकड़ लेना, अगली क्लास में मुझे आते ही पकड़ लेना. आई विल बी डिस्कसिंग ऑल दीज डाउट्स. तो अगली क्लास में अगर आप चाहते हैं कि मैं ये सारे डाउट्स डिस्कस करूं, तो उसके लिए मुझे याद करवाना आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. प्लस अगर आपने आंसर्स आज किए कमेंट सेक्शन में, तो मैं अगली क्लास में क्वेश्चन जब रिवाइज कराऊंगा तब आपके सारे आंसर्स दे दूंगा. मेरी कौन कौन सी पीपीटीज पेंडिंग है? ठीक है, एक तो ट्यूसडे की पीपीटी मैं दे देता हूँ और संडे सेशन की पीपीटी पेंडिंग है, मैं दोनों दे देता हूँ. ठीक है जी, डन. Thank you so much guys. We'll catch you in the next session. Good luck. God bless you all.